when I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-pilot books in character holds like rich garners the full-ripened grain, when I behold upon the night's starred face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and think that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the fairy power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think, till love and fame to nothingness do sink. I know the color of that blood. It is arterial blood. I cannot be deceived in that color. That drop is my death warrant. I must die. Dearest Fanny, I shall send this the moment you return. They say I must remain confined to this room for some time. The consciousness that you love me will make a pleasant prison of the house next to yours. You must come and see me frequently. This evening without fail. When you must not mind about my speaking in a low tone, for I am ordered to do so, though I can speak out. Yours ever, sweetest love. This living hand, now warm and capable of earnest grasping, would, if it were cold, and in the icy silence of the tomb, so haunt thy days and chill thy dreaming nights, that thou wouldst wish thine own heart dry of blood. So in my veins red life might stream again, and thou be conscience calmed. See, here it is. I hold it towards you. My dearest Fanny, I read your note in bed last night, and that might be the reason of my sleeping so much better. I think Mr. Brown is right in supposing that you may stop too long with me, so very nervous as I am. Send me every evening a written good night. If you come for a few minutes about 6, it may be the best time. Should you ever fancy me too low-spirited, I must warn you to ascribe it to the medicine I am at present taking, which is of a nerve-shaking nature. I shall impute any depression I may experience to this cause. I've been writing with a vile old pen the whole week, which is excessively ungallant. The fault is in the quill. I have mended it, but still it is very much inclined to make blind ease. However, these last lines of penmanship are in a much better style than the last, though a little disfigured by the smear of blackcurrant jelly, which has made a little mark on one of the pages of Brown's Ben Jonson, the very best book he has. I have licked it, but it remains very purple. I did not know whether to say purple or blue, so in the mixture of the thought wrote purplew, which may be an excellent name for a colour made up of those two, and would suit well to start next spring. Ah, what can ail thee, knight at arms, alone and palely loitering? The sedge is withered from the lake, and no birds sing. Ah, what can ail thee, knight at arms, so haggard and so woebegone? The squirrel's granary is full, and the harvest's done. I see a lily on thy brow, with anguish moist and fever dew, and on thy cheeks a fading rose fast withereth too. I met a lady in the meads, full beautiful, a fairy's child. Her hair was long, her foot was light, and her eyes were wild. I made a garland for her head, and bracelets too, and fragrant zone. She looked at me as she did love, and made sweet moan. I set her on my pacing steed, and nothing else saw all day long, for sidelong would she bend and sing a fairy's song. She found me roots of relish sweet, and honey wild, and manna dew, and sure in language strange she said, I love thee true. She took me to her elfin grot, and there she wept and sighed full sore, and there I shut her wild, wild eyes with kisses four. And there she lulled me asleep, and there I dreamed, ah, woe betide the latest dream I ever dreamed on the cold hillside. I saw pale kings, and princes too, pale warriors, death pale were they all, who cried, A beldam son mercy hath thee in thrall. My dearest girl, I wrote a letter for you yesterday, expecting to have seen your mother. I shall be selfish enough to send it, though I know it may give you a little pain, because I wish you to see how unhappy I am for love of you, and endeavor as much as I can to entice you to give up your whole heart to me, whose whole existence hangs upon you. You could not step or move an eyelid, but it would shoot to my heart. I am greedy of you. Do not think of anything but me. Do not live as if I was not existing. Do not forget me. Yet have I any right to say you forget me? Perhaps you think of me all day. Have I any right to wish you to be unhappy for me? You would forgive me for wishing it if you knew the extreme passion I have that you should love me. And for you to love me as I do you, you must think of no one but me. Much less write that sentence. Yesterday and this morning I've been haunted by a sweet vision. I've seen you the whole time in your shepherdess dress. Oh, how my senses have ached at it, how my heart has been devoted to it, how my eyes have been full of tears at it. Indeed, I think a real love is enough to occupy the widest heart. You're going to a town alone. When I heard of it, it was a shock to me, yet I expected it. Promise me you will not for some time till I get better. Promise me this. And fill the paper full of the most endearing names. If you cannot do so with goodwill, do, my love, tell me. Say what you think. Confess if your heart is too much fastened on the world. Perhaps then I shall begin to see you at a greater distance. If you would really what is called enjoy yourself at a party, if you can smile in people's faces and wish them to admire you now, you never have nor ever will love me. I see life in nothing but the certainty of your love. Convince me of it, my sweetest. If I am not somehow convinced, I shall die of agony. If we love, we must not live as other men and women do. I cannot brook the wolfsbane of fashion and foppery and tattle. You must be mine to die upon the rack if I want you. I do not pretend to say that I have more feeling than my fellows, but I wish you seriously to look over my letters, kind and unkind, and to consider whether the person who wrote them can be able to endure much longer the agonies and uncertainties that you are so peculiarly made to create. The recovery of bodily health will be of no benefit to me if you are not mine when I am well. For God's sake, save me. Or tell me that my passion is of too awful a nature for you. Again, God bless you. J.K. No, my sweet Fanny, I am wrong. I do not wish you to be unhappy. And yet I do, I must. While there is so sweet a beauty, my loveliest, my darling, goodbye, I kiss you. Oh, the torment. This journey to Italy haunts me horribly. I shall endeavor to go, though it be with the sensation of marching up against a battery. If my spirits seem low, you may in some degree impute it to our having been at sea a fortnight without making any way. My spirit is too weak. Mortality weighs heavily on me like unwilling sleep, and each imagined pinnacle and steep of godlike hardship tells me I must die, like a sick eagle looking at the sky. Yet 'tis a gentle luxury to weep that I have not the cloudy winds to keep fresh for the opening of the morning's eye. Such dim-conceived glories of the brain bring round the heart an undescribable feud. So do these wonders, a most dizzy pain that mingles Grecian grandeur with the rude wasting of old time, with a billowy main, a sun, a shadow of a magnitude. I wish for death every day and night to deliver me from these pains. And then I wish death away, for death would destroy even those pains which are better than nothing. Land and sea, weakness and decline are great separators, but death is the great divorcer forever. When the pang of this thought has passed through my mind, I may say the bitterness of death is past. My dear Brown, I often wish for you that you might flatter me with the best. I think, without my mentioning it, for my sake, you would be a friend to Miss Braun when I am dead. You think she has many faults, yet for my sake think she has not one. If there is anything you can do for her, by word or deed, I know you'll do it. I'm in a state at present where woman, merely as woman, can have no more power over me than stocks and stones. And yet the difference in my sensations with respect to Miss Braun and my sister is amazing. The one seems to absorb the other to a degree incredible. I seldom think of my brother and sister in America. The thought of leaving Miss Braun is beyond everything horrible. The sense of darkness coming over me. I eternally see her figure eternally vanishing. Some of the phrases she was in the habit of using during my last nursing at Wentworth Place ring in my ears. Is there another life? Shall I awake and find all this a dream? There must be. We cannot be created for this sort of suffering.
My dear Mrs. Braun, a few words will tell you what sort of a passage we had and what situation we are in. And few they must be on account of the quarantine. Our letters being liable to be opened for the purpose of fumigation at the health office.
We have to remain in the vessel 10 days. And are at present shut in a tier of ships. Give my love to Fanny. It has been unfortunate for me that one of the passengers is a young lady in a consumption. Her imprudence has vexed me very much. The knowledge of her complaints, the flushings in her face, all her bad symptoms have preyed upon me. They would have done so had I been in good health. Seven now is a very good fellow, but his nerves are too strong to be hurt by other people's illnesses. I shall feel a load off me when the lady vanishes out of sight. I have not dared to fix my mind upon Fanny. I dare not think of her. The only comfort I have had that way has been in thinking for hours together of having the knife she gave me in a silver case, her hair in a locket, and the pocketbook in a gold net. Show her this letter. I dare say no more. Oh, what an account I could give you of the Bay of Naples, if I could once more feel myself a citizen of this world. I feel a spirit in my brain would lay it forth pleasantly. Oh, what a misery it is to have an intellect in splints. Again, my love to Fanny. Tell Toots I wish I could pitch her a basket of grapes. And tell Sam the fellows catch here with a line a little fish, much like an anchovy. Pull them up fast. My dear Mrs. Braun, yours sincerely and affectionate, John Keats.
Goodbye, Fanny. God bless you. There was a naughty boy, and a naughty boy was he, for nothing would he do but scribble poetry. He took an inkstand in his hand, and a pen big as 10 in the other, and away in a pother he ran to the mountains and fountains and ghosties and posties and witches and ditches and wrote.
My dear Brown, my stomach continues so bad that I feel it worse on opening any book. But then I am much better than I was in quarantine. And then I'm afraid to encounter the proing and conning of anything interesting to me in England. I have an habitual feeling of my real life having passed, and that I am leading a posthumous existence. God knows how it would have been, but it appears to me... But I will not speak of that subject. I must have been at Bedhampton nearly at the time you were writing to me from Chichester. How unfortunate. And to have passed on the river, too. There was my star predominant. I can't answer anything in your letter, which followed me from Naples to Rome, because I'm afraid to look it over again. I'm so weak in mind that I cannot bear the sight of any handwriting of a friend I love as much as I do you. And yet I ride the little horse, and even at my worst, in quarantine, summoned up more puns in a sort of desperation in 1 week than in any year of my life. There is one thought enough to kill me. I have been well, healthy, alert, etc., walking with her, and now the knowledge of contrast, feeling for light and shade, all that information, primitive sense, necessary to a poem, are great enemies to the recovery of the stomach. There, you rogue, I put you to the torture. But you must bring your philosophy to bear, as I do mine, really. Or how should I be able to live? Dr. Clark is very attentive to me. He says there is very little the matter with my lungs, though my stomach, he says, is very bad. I am well disappointed in hearing good news of my brother George, for it runs in my head that we shall all die young. If I recover, I shall do everything in my power to correct the mistakes made during sickness. And if I should not, all my faults will be forgiven. Seven is very well, though he leads such a dull life with me. Remember me to all friends. And write to my brother George as soon as you receive this and tell him how I am as far as you can guess. Also a note to my sister, who walks about my imagination like a ghost. I can scarcely bid you goodbye even in a letter. I always made an awkward bow. God bless you. John Keats.
When will this posthumous life of mine come to an end? Here lies one whose name was written in water. Bright star, would I was steadfast as thou art, not in lone splendor hung aloft the night, and watching with eternal lids apart, like nature's patient, sleepless eremite, the moving waters at their priest-like task of pure ablution round earth's human shores, or gazing on the new soft-fallen mask of snow upon the mountains and the moors. No, yet still steadfast, still unchangeable, pillowed upon my fair love's ripening breast, to feel forever its soft fall and swell, awake forever in a sweet unrest, still to hear her tender taken breath, and so live ever, or else swoon to death.
Knowledge enormous makes a god of me. Names, deeds, grey legends, dire events, rebellions, majesties, sovereign voices, agonies, creations and destroyings, all at once pour into the wide hollows of my brain and deify me, as if some blithe wine or bright elixir peerless I had drunk, and so become immortal.